Well, today we're going to talk about one of the craziest interior options that I think was ever produced, and it comes from the waning years of American Motors, and that is the AMC Matador Barcelona, or as it's correctly pronounced, Barcelona. The Matador was introduced for the 1971 model year and would be produced through the 1978 model year and was a quite successful vehicle for American Motors in terms of sales. Well, to some degree. Let's say the sedan was a relative success for American Motors. The Matador Coupe, which was introduced in 1974, never was a sales success. It had pretty controversial styling for the day. And I think that it wasn't helped by the fact that the designers had to hang these large bumpers on front and rear to the design that really bastardized it a bit. And that was because of federal motor vehicle safety standards and crash standards at the time that mandated these vehicles had to withstand a 5-mile-an-hour impact in the front and rear with no damage to the vehicle. This is perhaps one of the reasons for the Matador sedan and wagon's odd front nose/snout on the vehicle, is that AMC wanted to reuse the tooling for the fenders on either side, but they had to meet those crash standards, and thus the car had to get this longer snout on it in order to meet those crash standards. A relatively ingenious way to meet that standard and also save on tooling. Now, the Matador itself was no stranger to wild interiors. There was the Matador Brougham, the Matador X, and my personal favorite, the Oleg Cassini interior Matador. I would kill for one of these in black with the black interior and copper carpet. I think it's just awesome. But they're rare as hen's teeth now, as are just any old American Motors vehicle, period. But the Matador Barcelona was introduced in 1977, and it would only be produced for 2 model years, 1977 and 1978. And 1977 being the inaugural year, the Barcelona package was only offered on the Matador coupes. But I guess it must have proven so successful that for 1978, the Matador Barcelona could be outfitted not only to the coupe, but also to the 4-door sedan. Let's now take a look at this crazy over-the-top interior. And here you have one of the 2 interior color options. Well, there are 2 interior and exterior color options for the Matador Barcelona. On the interior, you have this red claret-colored interior, and then you also had a tan interior selection. On the exterior, you had similar matching color combinations, 2-tone red or 2-tone tan colored exteriors. But on the interior, I mean, this is just so funky. When you got the Matador Barcelona, you not only got the so-called velveteen cloth interior that you see here, that's, I don't even know how to describe the seat design. It's kind of this loose, well, velveteen cloth, I suppose, interior that's kind of rumpled in design. That was intentional. I have to imagine that may have driven the quality control engineers crazy, because the designers wanted the material to kind of gather in certain areas as opposed to having a cleaner appearance. But the designers here intended for this so-called gathered look of the material to give it a certain richness, that you open the door and you thought that, I guess, there was just an abundance of cloth everywhere. From the door panels, which were also unique to the Matador Barcelona, they also had a unique headliner in the Matador Barcelonas too. You got 24-ounce carpeting, so a heavier carpeting in the Matador Barcelona. The strangest part about the package is that while one can understand the interior dress-up packages, when you opted for the Matador Barcelona, you also got a rear sway bar out back, because clearly when you have seats like this, you're going to be tossing your Matador into corners and expecting it to handle extremely well. Now, I will say that the Matadors of this era did actually handle relatively well. American Motors did so much with so little over the years. It's pretty amazing. And if you drive one of the AMC cars of this era, you'll find that it's not really a pillowy ride, but it is a composed ride. And the cars are relatively quiet on the interior, and AMC did put some excellent engines and transmissions in their vehicles. By this point, all the transmissions were Chrysler torque flights from an automatic standpoint. And you could get, in 1977, the 258 cubic inch AMC inline 6, a 304 cubic inch two-barrel V8 and a 360 cubic inch two-barrel V8 in your Matador Barcelona. In 1978, they would drop the 304, and you could just get the 258 or the 360 V8 in that particular model year. But anyway, getting back to the interior, you got this cheerful interior to sit in. And there was a lot of standard AMC fare on these, aside from the seating and the unique carpet and headliner. The dash was typical Matador, which included, interestingly, not only faux wood grain on the bottom of it and kind of alongside the vents, as you can see there, but on the gauge faces themselves, because gauge faces would normally be made out of wood. I've seen this only on a couple other cars of the era. Well, a couple other cars, period. That is wood on the gauge faces or faux wood on the gauge faces. Imperial did that for one or two model years, somewhere around 1970, I want to say. I think it was 1970 was the year they did that, where they had the actual gauge faces had this faux wood grain behind it. So that was kind of an interesting touch. You did get on the Barcelona, of course, a emblem on the glove box door too. Ooh, very cool. And you did get AMC standard two-spoke wheel. You could also get an optional three-spoke sports steering wheel. The two-spoker was quite common, and it looks okay. Nothing bad about that. Now, as I mentioned, these cars had unique headliners, and AMC had some really interesting headliners over the years, particularly in the Pierre Cardin Javelin that had the pattern that was on the seats replicated in the headliner. But on the Ambassadors and Matadors, the headliner was, kind of an interesting one because it appears to have these roof bows in it, but those are just molded in. Those aren't real roof bows. So this is not a woven fabric headliner. And nor is it one of the mouse fur kind of, let's say, significant foam backing soft headliners either. They're pretty hard textured. I don't know what was exactly unique about the headliner in the Matador Barcelona. They called it out as a unique headliner. It looks to me pretty standard AMC. The color was different, of course, but these headliners, if you run your finger over them, it almost feels like cardboard. They're pretty hard. And they don't look bad, and they don't droop, so that's good. AMC was pretty inventive in that area, and most people don't necessarily care what the headliner looks like so long as it looks relatively pleasing to the eye. So I actually think this was a pretty astute place, as the bean counter me tells me it was an astute place to save some money, and I think it was better than some other headliners in other cars. Now, I've been showing the claret red interior, but here's the tan interior. Again, very similar. I much prefer the red, I think. The tan is a little too understated. If you're going to go all 70s, you better go all the way, and you got to have that kind of bordello red style interior. This one's more muted, and I say muted in the context of obviously having some very over-the-top fabrics in this particular vehicle. I do like that they put the door pull strap. They put an additional one there at the top to complement the standard AMC armrest as well as the door handle. Switching to the exterior for a moment, I thought I would just show this two-tone kind of tan-on-tan paint scheme with the road wheels. AMC actually did have very nice stylized wheels that were optional on others, standard on the Barcelona, but I do enjoy that they made the bumper here body color because I guess chrome was not going to be befitting of the Barcelona. They also had a unique stand-up hood ornament for the Barcelona, which I believe all Matadors got in 1978. It was exclusive to the Matador in 1977, but I guess AMC designers liked it so much that they decided to replicate it on other AMCs as well. And here we'll take a look at the rear three-quarter view. This is, I'll call the tan colors, the correct colors, golden ginger on sand tan. That is the name of the two colors there. And with the Barcelona package, you also got this extremely padded vinyl top. I mean, look at how thick the padding is around the opera window there and how thick the C-pillar is. I think it looks a little ridiculous. Unfortunately, by this point, the rear glass did not drop down. On earlier Matadors, you actually could roll that window down and get a little ventilation in the back to supplement the front doors. But by this point, it was made fixed, and I guess that kind of made sense because so much padding was around it anyway on this Matador. And notice the body-colored bumper in the rear here too. And here we have a picture under hood. This car obviously has the standard 258 cubic inch inline six, and somebody has taken the belt off of the air pump there. I wonder why. Well, in any case, the interesting thing about this is the Matador also has these huge troughs that you can see on either side of the engine compartment that are great for holding your tools when you're servicing them. But I point this out because this is really the genius of AMC cost-cutting engineering. They effectively had, we'll call it one platform that they modified into different wheelbases, different lengths, etc. But the width of the platform stayed constant, so they could build any of these cars in the Kenosha assembly plant or wherever they chose to. And it was a great idea because it just allowed for ease of manufacturing, and it really helped them with cost savings. So anytime you pop one of the AMC's hoods of this era, you'll notice these big troughs in the Matadors. You also notice a big distance from the radiator to the front of the grill because they were really saving money and commonizing that section of the vehicle and the distance between the, I'll call them frame rails, but these cars are unibody. They do have kind of a subframe. But AMC was commonizing that, and it really allowed them to manufacture these with relative ease and produce them in volume and do so efficiently. In any case, that's the story of the AMC Matador Barcelona. Pretty sweet vehicle overall. One I almost bought a red four-door sedan years ago that was in mint condition. Couldn't quite come to an agreed-upon sales price with the seller. We were just a little bit apart, and I let the deal slip through. I kind of wanted a coupe pretty badly. I wouldn't mind an AMC Matador coupe, but I really, really want the Oleg Cassini Matador, and it has to be in black. I don't want a white one. So still holding out for one of those. Until then, hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks again for watching.